morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to start and to open this event, which is the first Automotive Forum 2024. My name is Giedrius Valuckas, and I am a chairman of Automotive Cluster, BACC.
Now, let's wait for some light, at least on the stage. Can we have some light, please? Okay, you can see us. Amazing.
It's cozy atmosphere here.
Cozy atmosphere.
So, no light.
My name is Florian. I welcome the family and the friends of the Automotive Cluster and Automotive community here in Lithuania, the capital of Automotive in Europe. Today is in Vilnius. We are happy to have you here to discuss the transformation of the automotive sector. It's amazing times, critical times. There's competition outside, and we have to put all hands and brains on deck in order to move forward.
And today we have over 300 registrations. Those participants, I think, we're gonna rotate. And also we have, we saw on the system a lot of B2B meetings, which is very good. And we would like to start with some little bit hints and rules. You know, we have the agenda, which will be very strict and very interesting. So we are looking forward for really good insights. Good network, good thoughts. And also you can see here the slide though, QR code. I don't know if everybody can see it, but we will show it later as well when some speakers will start. But the code is 2667832. Actually, during the presentations, when you can interact with the speakers and ask the questions, if we will have some time, we as moderators will ask those questions.
And if you haven't done your B2B meeting already planned, go to the app B2Match, register and profit, because the aim is at the end to make more business. And with that, I want to thank our sponsors, who without their commitment, this forum would not have been possible. And they are Continental, Monitor, Forvia Hella, and last not least, Telesoftas. A big applause to our sponsors.
Also, CEE Forge. Okay. I want to also invite everyone, if you have the possibilities, because we have the hall number 3 as Innovation Hall. In Innovation Hall, we have the most modern and automotive and other solutions actually. So you can find also some of our members out there. And in the very end is a fancy Continental stand. So please visit that during the day. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask our charming Minister of Economy and Innovation to say the greeting speech.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's great to be here again. Actually, just yesterday we have opened an engineering forum, or it was more dedicated to Industry 4.0. You know, as a Minister of Economy and Innovation, I'm traveling all around the world together with our businesses, also meeting international companies. And I think it was one of the biggest German car makers, the chairman of the board, when I asked him, you know, what do you know about Lithuania? He said, basically nothing. Well, obviously, he knew that the country exists and so on, but when it comes to investment climate, he didn't know much. But they knew a lot about our neighboring countries. And then I realized that, you know, for me as a minister, sometimes my job is actually to upload the map, to tell more about the existing investment opportunities, about our procedures, about our legislation, about our ecosystem, and so on. And when it comes to automotive, this is the place to be. This is an exciting jurisdiction, actually, where you can test the perhaps most crazy solutions you develop, where you can grow and where you can scale, and then obviously create new opportunities both for your company and for our country. Now, we are very proud about our existing ecosystem, from the mobility solutions to electric vehicles, different kind of components. Our companies are growing, are scaling. We are very proud of the international companies who are here, whose footprint is actually very significant in our country. But we want to do more. And it's not only automotive, it's also other areas where automotive could contribute. Just very recently, us, the Lithuanian decision makers, the government and the parliament, we have adopted new piece of legislation when it comes to defense industry. Basically, Lithuania now is perhaps the friendliest jurisdiction in the European Union when it comes to development of big defense investment projects. And automotive could play a role in this regard. Your companies could extend the activities to multi-purpose vehicles, to dual use, and basically any other solutions that may be applied, not only to the traditional automotive market, but also to the defense market that is now growing, and basically it is and will remain important in years to come as we have conflicts just around the corner. So thank you very much. I hope I uploaded the map a little bit. Well, for the international visitors, you're already here, so you know about Lithuania more than average. I hope you'll enjoy the event. I hope you'll enjoy the stay or B2B meetings, because here we are to do business, right? Not only to talk nice things. So seeing is believing. See what Lithuania is and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Minister. It's good to see that Minister has a vision also for the business and is also not just doing, but creating innovative framework. And yes, I think it's a very good initiative, and we from German, not only automotive industry, but also the defense industry, for sure will have a growing footprint here in the Baltics and have some projects in the future. Another topic is the autonomous driving, and there you already in 2017 you established one of the most advanced regulatory frameworks in Europe, and let's see what we can and how we can best take use of it. And that also is the let's say the introduction of the next topic. Transportation and automotive is clearly linked, and I welcome the Minister of Transport, Marius Skuodis. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you to Ausrine, who said why it's the most important and the best jurisdiction and the place to be in at the moment. So first of all, welcome to the forum. It's really an honor to host so many people, and actually so many familiar faces from Lithuania and also from abroad. And before coming to the stage, I thought about the challenge that I have. Because I have a prepared speech where I need to mention certain things which are politically correct. But at the same time, there are a few things that I want personally to say about the automotive industry. So first of all, I will say what is written there. Because all politicians are always talking about the paramount importance of the Green Deal. And that it's not only a moral imperative to follow it, but you have also heard from many politicians saying that it creates a lot of opportunities. So this is the first thing that I had to say in my prepared speech. The second thing, a few words about Lithuania, because we are really doing a lot in this area to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles. You will hear a few things about autonomous solutions in Lithuania. So I won't highlight anything, not to take light from you. And also we are doing a lot in the green energy sector. Because from 2030, Lithuania is going to become a green energy exporting country. And for that purpose, electrification of our transport field, it's a very natural way forward. And here we have very clear legally binding decisions what we need to follow. For instance, in 2 years, from 26, in all public procurement procedures, we won't be able to buy anything than zero-emission cars. At the same time, from 29, the Parliament adopted legislation. We won't be able to register any polluting public transport vehicles. At the same time, we are investing heavily in charging and refueling infrastructure in Lithuania. From hydrogen to biogas and so on. So in general, what I had in my speech is to say that the future is bright in Lithuania and everything is going to be all right. But what I had to say personally, what I wanted to say personally, I'm really worried myself and concerned about the future of the industry in Europe. For numerous reasons. I have been staying for too long probably already in the government because I can compare different Frankfurt and later Munich automotive shows, the largest exhibitions. Remember when I first participated in my official capacity in 2019, at that time, for instance, Volkswagen presented its first ID3 model. And we were only talking about electric cars at that time. That maybe we were going to have something in the future. That was in 2019. And actually, a lot of manufacturers were smiling when I asked them questions. So, what is the share of cars you are going to produce which are going to be electric? People were smiling at that time. Since then, we introduced the ID3 model in our ministry's transport fleet. And after 2 years, in 2021, in the same exhibition, which moved to Munich and which changed its name to Mobility Probably Fair, everyone was talking about electric vehicles. And at that time, I understood that the manufacturers have chosen the future for passenger cars to be electric. That was clear. In 2 years, in the latest exhibition, do you know what I remember from that? I remember not European producers, not American producers. I remember Chinese manufacturers. Just in 5 years, this is the change we're observing. And the question that doesn't allow me to sleep at night is what we need to do for our industry to remain competitive, for the European manufacturers to remain competitive. And there are a lot of questions. How are we in Europe going to ensure that we have cheap energy for production? How are we going to ensure that we have cheap raw materials? I think these are the questions that you are all asking yourself in your daily activities. The second question, what are we going to do with the internal combustion engine, which is our competitiveness? And actually, last week I had an opportunity to visit the largest sustainable aviation fuels manufacturing facility globally in Singapore. Neste, Finnish producer, has their facility there. And one stage before producing sustainable aviation fuels, you have sustainable diesel. But we are not talking about that on the European level. For that reason, I very much support my colleague and friend Volker Wissing, German minister, with whom, in the beginning of June, we are organizing together, and also together with Japanese, so 3 countries, 3 ministries, we are organizing the second e-fuels dialogue in Berlin to talk what can we do, because the combustion engine is going to stay here for quite a number of years. At the same time, the question I have, and also from my conversations with Volker Wissing, he told me he has a very nice German car, electric, superb, excellent one. I intentionally won't mention the brand. But he told me there is one slight problem with that car. It costs around 150,000 euros. For that reason, since I have been staying for too long in the government, I am driving a Japanese car myself, probably. So the question is, are European manufacturers going to produce only luxury brands in the future, or also we will be able to produce something for the masses, what we have been doing in the past? And my final thought, yesterday we had a very nice conference on bicycles in Lithuania. And European Cyclists Federation visited us, and we had a very interesting conversation with the president, who told me, you know, politicians are afraid to say for the public that the cars we are owning at the moment are very likely to be our last ones, because we are not going to afford buying new ones. Doesn't matter whether electric or other. But at the same time, the bicycle industry is growing and bicycles are becoming more sophisticated. And I know that we are going to talk about that also in the future. So maybe this is the future for the industry. So there are a lot of challenges, and you know about that. My wish for everyone is, let's use this forum, this format, to create new partnerships, to stay competitive, to find those ways how to move forward and to stay on the edge of competitiveness. So thank you very much, and have very good and productive forum and discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. And yeah, exciting times, and maybe we also talk a lot about this Rail Baltica. Let's not forget about the Via Baltica. And since you have already this autonomous, amazing regulatory framework, and I mean, we will put trucks, I mean, the trucks will also stay. So maybe why not try to make the Via Baltica an autonomous pioneering route in Europe? Because yeah, I think in Germany, Volker Wissing will tell you, it will probably take 5 years to only fix the laws, and you are much quicker. So this could be also another vision for that. Yeah, we come now to actually the next to the next keynote speaker, and that will be Giedrius himself. And of course, most of you know him, but for those who don't know him, he is not only the chairman of the Baltic Automotive Cluster, but he's also in the board of the Free Economic Zones Association in Lithuania, and he is also an entrepreneur himself, and one of the pioneers and visionaries from the private sector who drives the automotive cluster and family here. Giedrius, welcome again, and good luck with your keynote.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
So I will try to be very short because we are already out of time, I see. But both ministers covered most of it. So I will start a little bit about the figures of Lithuania, since we have here international guests. So, you know that Lithuania as a name, Lithuania, we were always complaining about it, but turns out it's now very popular because of lithium, and hopefully we will become the battery hub in the future, in 20 years. Well, but, you know, our key drivers for economy is the logistics and manufacturing, which is 12 and 20% of the GDP. We are also International Tax Competitiveness Index 8th and doing business ranking 11th. Unfortunately, business doing ranking is already not calculated from 2021. But this is how we work, as you can see from also our ministries, right? We are a dynamic country. We work together with government and setting up the KPIs from business side. That's why we are so much driven and dynamic. So we can see in the figures here, like 5th global in communications, 6th in cybersecurity, and we have the very good infrastructure, which we now already covering around 90% of 5G in the country. Well, another performance is like we are first for GDP per capita growth since year 2000. And also we are 12th freest economy in the world. And basically, speaking about digitalization, we are actually the first, according to Eurostat in year 2022. We have no data for 2023 for the conducting e-sales, which is also showing some really good and great digitalization trend. Speaking about the manufacturing, you know, we were always had a growth. And this growth was really stable. And you can see from the production outputs, even during the COVID, we didn't have any crisis. So it speaks about our resilience. Now, about generally now the trend from the industry. Here is the slide about the order book levels comparing to the inventories, right? So we can see that the trend is not really good for Sweden, for Finland, for Germany even is worse, and France looks like a little bit better. So basically the euro area doesn't really look healthy right now. But Lithuania is driving up. And I want to face it, why is that? Because always when the crisis hits, we find new customers, new projects. The supply chain a little bit opens for us, and for us it's easier to step in. So also another thing that we also attract investments, and foreign investors drives us. And why do they invest? Because actually, when we usually check the statistics, we compare, you know, euros per hour rate, for example. And in the European statistics, we are quite below comparing to the countries like Germany, Finland, Sweden, whatever. And why is that? Because we don't have our own brand yet. This would help us, because the efficiency, I want to say that, is quite high here. And that's why any kind of investors who are coming and invest in manufacturing, we are achieving the best and good results within the group. We had in automotive industry the great investments, starting from Forvia Hella, from Continental, now the latest one is Bike, which is the bicycle manufacturers and assembly factory. And also we have Lithuanian really diamonds, Teltonika. All of them will have some kind of presentations today. So speaking about why they are coming, it's because we are having the really great business environment, right? And I am a little bit telling that actually the Baltic states is the free economic zone as itself. And also we have quite a great share of the women scientists, and everybody here in Lithuania can speak English for the young generation. In the free economic zones, we have 7 of them, so we have 0 corporate tax for 10 years, 6 years it's half of it, and we have no real estate tax. Also, it was mentioned about the sustainability. I just visualize that, what Marius just said, right? So we were the first country neglecting Russia. We cut off the gas, cut off the energy from them. And we are really driven and see the huge potential. Because of the taxonomy, it will be really the great location to have the projects in the Baltic states and in the Lithuania. Here you can see also the hub, how is it forming, but we're going to have around 90 gigawatts of the power. And like also Marius just mentioned, we will start in a few years to export our electricity, which will be totally green, because when we shut down our power plant, we had to import it. Now, regarding the automotive industry and automotive sector, we can say, I'm sorry not to put all the logos and so on in Baltic states, because we are also welcome here, Latvia, Estonia, our brothers, because we are Baltic states as a northern European country, so we have those presents. But if to look at OEM's map, the Baltic states looks empty. That's why it's hard maybe for us until now was to attract the investments. Of course, tier 1, tier 2 supply chain, when we can have some pins, but it's still not enough. But I would like to mention that this is maybe just unlocking the potential, because this is really the paradise for the automotive, and we should speak about it. So, you know, we are now living in a huge transformation period. So, like we had this internal combustion cars, which now converted to electrical cars, and actually those cars are, you know, we speak now about connectivity, right? So in Baltic states and in Northern Europe, we something in the heads maybe feel this Nokia effect, when the Nokia was the leading, and suddenly Apple came and changed everything. So basically, we are speaking about a change of the rules. What the situation do we have now? That, you know, you are NBA players, we are champions of the world, and suddenly you say, okay, now let's play rugby. All right, and then this is the little probably issue, because are we gonna be the champions? So this is the question. So like also it was a little bit mentioned, can we face China? This is just a question for today. I don't know if we're gonna have these aspects, but we see this issue. But another thing is that this is the opener for a lot of windows. And these windows openers, we can step in. Because the car is not really the car anymore, we have a huge, we had piles like software, like vehicle electronics, powertrain, electric powertrain, and so on. So speaking about autonomous drive, like also what we say, I want to phase it out. But in 2018, we were, as a Lithuania, early adopter of legal framework. We also have the road which is ready for autonomous drive, because we have 5G everywhere, and even the government made a flow chart for the registration of autonomous vehicles, which takes in Lithuania around formally 60 days, but it takes even probably faster. And as a sample, we had a very great example with the fintech, where we become the second country in Europe regarding the fintech. Now there is sandboxes for the 5G, so I mean there is a lot of governmental support where we believe that we can, you know, thrive and to progress with the autonomous drive. So we already have some business cases like Teltonika, with the collaboration of Augsburg University, won the first place in acceleration. Like we have Continental, who is making autonomous hub, and Hella as well in Kaunas. We actually had already in the city last year, where Vilnius became the first city in Europe to launch the fleet of driverless delivery robots on its public roads. And, you know, they drove over 5,000 kilometers. It was really nice to see when you are driving in Vilnius to see these cars passing. So this is not allowed in any, I think, city yet in Europe. And we can become like California in United States. So that's the picture of that. And also here is our minister with another potential project. So we just need more business cases like this. For example, this is the car sharing service as a business case, but we can have much more business cases because we can enable it. So we should work as enablers, because we do have everything what we need for a country. I mean, all the checks, right? So, but the most important, because technologies are here, it's the most important, the regulatory environment and legal base. So this is what we have. So thank you very much, and yeah.
Yes, big applause. And now we're going to have a short introduction to the Lithuanian transport system.
Fasten your seatbelts, enjoy the view, and embark on a flight through Lithuania, a country where the transport industry defies its compact size. Cleared for takeoff. Let's go. Starting with a vast road network used by more than 6,000 local logistics companies, transporting over 100 million tons of cargo a year, which seamlessly integrates with an expansive rail system that's directly interlinked with Europe's track. Navigating forward, the intermodal port of Klaipėda, where rails, roads, seaways connect, and up to 70 million tons of cargo can be handled and dispatched to over 70 countries every year. Of course, let's not forget 3 strategically placed airports plus a fleet of more than 200 leased aircraft. And that's just the infrastructure. But the transport sector couldn't generate 13% of GDP without our talent. Tech companies here are at the forefront of innovation, revolutionizing urban transport systems and supplying GPS trackers for 6 continents. And by the way, everything's covered with 5G. In fact, 90% of Lithuania is. On top of it all, we're keeping a steady course on the European Green Deal, electrifying our rail network, investing billions into low-emission trucks, harnessing more energy from renewable sources every day, and much more. Sure, we may be small in size, but it also makes us flexible and fast. Fast in tackling global challenges, flexible in adapting to an ever-changing environment, and of course, confident while rapidly moving forward.
Yes, applause, big applause. And now we step into the future of mobility in Lithuania. And let's welcome our next keynote speaker, who's one of the most seasoned CEOs with the greatest impact and footprint here, who has established the Continental plant, and under his leadership, it has become one of the success stories and examples of the development and sustainable business practice with a lot of innovative capacity. Let's welcome our dear friend, Shayan.
Yes.
Welcome.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here in this such a remarkable event. Thanks a lot to the organizers, the sponsors. It's truly an amazing. Look, as I discuss about our history, our story, actually I'll tell you a true story as it goes. I think you will see the extreme amount of efforts that we put in to enter this market with our products and technologies. So I would say that it has been a great progress from our side to start this journey. And of course, we are making tires here, right? Who thinks we make tires here? Good. It's good that I don't see any hands, because honestly, whenever I'm saying I'm from Continental, and I will always hear, well, yeah, sorry, I don't have a Continental tire, I have a Goodyear tire or something. Sorry, I said, look, tires are our friends, tires is what created Continental. But we also have a very diverse portfolio. And that means we are as much as a tire company in Lithuania as Lithuania is a tropical paradise for all of us. That's the truth. So that means we are making great tires, but we are also making exceptional technology products for automotive electronics. And that's who we are. We are producing here high complex, high-tech automotive products for autonomous mobility, comfort, and safety. Pretty much when you get inside a car and you are enjoying the true benefits and the convenience and the comfort factor of the cars, you are depending on numerous amount of electronics. And we are proud to be a part of that entire platform and portfolio that is giving the end user the convenience, the comfort, the safety. And that's truly an amazing experience for us. But let's go to the beginning of how this journey in Lithuania. I talked today about our existence in the country, how we started this journey and what was our story behind it, and what triggered us to create our vision and mission for our plant or our location in the country. We drive excellence and sustainable quality to our customers. Yes, we are nobody without our customers. Therefore, we are strongly focused on our customers and what drives our mission, our diversity, passion, and agility. That makes us the place of choice. This is our motto, this is in our DNA. So, let's walk back on how Continental normally creates a greenfield scenario. Believe it or not, guys, it's a long process. For us to enter Lithuania to start a greenfield, which we envision to be the factory of tomorrow, that journey started, quite honestly, in 2014. So it took us about 3 years time frame to do a proper study, proper analysis, proper strategy building on how we set up a greenfield, where we go, what we do, how we build it up. It takes time. And a lot of factors come into play here. The geographic location, what kind of business environment the country is at, workforce, education, strategic location, and last but not least, the language skills. So, with that in mind, we also looked into the key factors that were influencing our selection of Lithuania. First of all, you saw Giedrius' chart. The chart tells it all. The Baltic states, especially in Lithuania, is not saturated with automotive companies. Hence, we found it's an opportunity for us to create a sustainable growth. Secondly, the business environment has been very supportive. We have had great support from the government agencies, as well as our external partners here, to make us feel comfortable and get our establishment started. And of course, the engineering workforce, the education institutions, the location strategy, and last but not least, the English skills that we find is very helpful for us to operate as an international company. Continental founded in 1871, and we started our journey here in 2017 as we announced our existence or our presence in the country. And from that point on, I always like to refer to, we are an automotive company, 0 to 100. How fast can you go? And this is a true picture of how our site looked like in 2018 July and 2019 October, less than 15 months. We not only finished our construction site, but we were able to set up operations for our customer and produce our first product. That's a record time in the history of Continental. I've been with the company for 26 years. I've never seen this. So we did an amazing, remarkable journey, and of course, we are very proud of it. What drove us to get there? We had to do a lot of proactive thinking because we knew the curve would be very, very steep. And automotive industry, those of you who are all here from automotive industry, I don't have to tell you how the environment of automotive industry can change just like that, overnight. It's very volatile, it's full of challenges, it's full of excitement, and that's exactly what happened. When we set up the operation, we had a plan, but that plan changed within a month. And therefore, we had to rethink, reanalyze, and we had to create about strategies. We focused on training, development of people with assistance of our colleagues all over the globe. So we are a company, we value for one another. This is one of our core values, and this is exactly a prime example of how our other locations jumped in to help us with support we needed to ramp up. We forged a strong alliance with our customers. We had customers here with us from day one, especially the customers that were launching their products. They were so invested and interested into this operation, they had no luxury to lose, and we worked with them as a strong partner. We were very transparent. We learned from them what we need to do to prepare, and they helped us a lot. And last but not least, recruiting experienced individuals from across Continental and the globe. We knew that we would face challenges here to ramp up fast, and therefore we opened the doors and invited talents to come to help us build up this plant. So that's how our story started. 2017 groundbreaking, plant opening 2019. We are LEED Gold certified plant, one of the rarest one, and probably the first LEED Gold plant within Continental. And we produced our first 1 million units in 2021, within less than 2 years of opening the plant. So you can understand the steady growth we faced, and we continue to grow along our time frame. Let's not forget sustainability. We are very proud to be one of the most sustainable plants within Continental. Why, you may ask, we did this? This is the beauty of creating something from scratch. When you can do it right the first time, it's much easier than to transform. Hence, we put a lot of effort, so that 3 years of planning really paid off. We planned very well to make sure we are using all sustainable energy, we are using the cutting-edge building technology to control our energy and water and so forth, solar panels installations to create our own energy and so forth. The list goes on. And this is what allowed us to be one of the most sustainable plants, which led to all our certifications. So we not only achieved our LEED Gold certification, but we also achieved a very prestigious certification from our Continental company, the Green Plant label. And I have to tell you guys, within Continental, we are one of the 5 plants that have received the Green Plant label Gold. This is an extremely challenging task, and we were able to achieve that. So this is really, really a proud moment for us. Nothing can happen without the core of our company. The heart of our company is our people. We've always been a people-focused company. We continue to remain that. Yesterday I discussed about Industry 4.0. Many of you heard. Again, Continental's technology is the center of the technology is our people. And we are proud that we not only created a lot of efforts to train and develop our talents, but we also have a very good gender ratio. We have a very average young population with young talents, but we are growing them continuously, and we have over 27 nationalities in our company working with us. Other than that, we also engaged a lot of partnership with our universities, colleges, focusing on engineering talents, focusing on skilled labor force, which is very important and crucial for us, and hence we developed dual study programs very similar to what Germany does, and we are proud of it. And actually today I can even announce that we are one of the first companies in the country that is working with AHK to create a German accredited dual vocational certification. We'll be the first in Lithuania, and I hope we will not be the only one. And this is an extremely important element that we are focusing on for the coming years. No success comes without challenge. I'd be lying to you. As you can imagine, if you have to ramp up a plant in 15 months and continue to grow, of course there are challenges. Shortage of specialized person. I think this is a challenge we all face. There is no way to hide that. It's a small country, small pool of talent, but we have to work closely together to continue to grow that. Supplier shortage. What I mean supplier shortage is we have global suppliers, but within the country around us, there is still a shortage of creating local suppliers that can provide us with probably a healthy ecosystem to survive in the industry. And of course, connectivity. It was great to see Marius's presentation on the road infrastructure and how we are connecting, but we still have work to do, because I've always said the country is small, and we need to bring the country first connected very well, so we can connect the north, south, east, west regions of the country to bring the talent pool to the center where we are operating. This is still a challenge. So, to overcome those challenges, we have been working very diligently with the agencies and their partners on recruitment focus, education focus, collaboration with industry, collaboration with the government, and of course, strengthening the relationship with our local suppliers. What is our roadmap looking like? Very healthy. And you'll see why when I show you the product portfolio. So, from the start of production in 2019 to 2023, we quadrupled our volumes last year. And we continue to grow our volume in the coming years in the scale of magnitude, reaching almost 10 times the volume in 2027 compared to where we started. Of course, with that, our growth of employees is present, as well as our product portfolio, where we are bringing in a lot of cutting-edge technology, especially in the field of radar electronics and comfort and safety electronics. That brings us to what we are producing and what we are based out of for our technology. We are heavily focused on radar and automated drive control unit technology. That's the future. You've heard it over and over again. That's where the car industry is going. Hence, we are exactly tuned into the right area to focus to grow. Along with that, we have our comfort and safety electronics and wireless technology products being built also under the same roof within our plant. And this is what makes us a very holistic, strong growth projection for our location. With that, I thank you all for your time. I do encourage you to please come visit us in our innovation area. We have a vast amount of technology in the showcase there that you will be able to see, touch, and feel. The self-driving truck technology we are showing in our innovation area is fascinating. This is a platform we are launching in the US, and I'm positive that it will be penetrating in the Europe and Asia market. So please visit that booth, make yourself familiar, ask questions, talk to our specialists over there, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shayan.
Thanks.
So Shayan is actually our instrument of Lithuanian growth, you know. And I didn't mention, but he came here from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So now he's already 7 years in Lithuania. And yes, thank you very much, Shayan.
Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask the two gentlemen from Ford to join us on the stage. And with the round of applause, I would like to invite here Daniel Balazovic and Petr Sevick.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, good morning, everybody. It's such a really pleasure to be here together with Peter. We both are coming from Ford Motor Company. I hope it's a well-known company to everybody, and at least one time in your life you drove Ford Fiesta, Ford Transit, Ford Mustang, nowadays Mustang Mach-E. We will talk a little bit about that first our company, because I think it will be nice that you can have some insights, informations, how our company is divided. And before jumping to that, it will be nice if, Peter, you can introduce what is basically our function.
Yeah, thanks a lot for a great opportunity being here, part of this great forum. Thanks to company Continental, Shayan, and country of Lithuania. Just a little bit of introduce ourselves. We're part of a supply chain. That's our main role. And in particular, we focus on the, let's say, supply base, developing supply base, focusing on driving quality, driving performance, and obviously the main goal is sustainability of a supply base in order to support our manufacturing plants with the components, which if you look at the vehicle, it's about 70% of the content, cost-wise, material-wise, coming from supply partners. All right?
Yeah, well, so what we have done, the next slide, please, Peter. You know, a few years ago, we started to really work very strongly on sustainability. With introduction of the battery electric vehicles, we had to divide our portfolio into 3 different automotive businesses, where every single business area is focused to the customer, because every single customer is coming with their specific requirements, right? So we have divided 3 different groups. The first one is Ford Blue. This is well-known combustion engine vehicles. The second area is Ford Model E, where we are launching all of the battery electric vehicles, which we still believe is the future. And we really play all into this segment. And the last is Ford Pro. This is really a high runner, mainly here in Ford in Europe, where are all of the commercial vehicles. So it's really important to understand that in a Ford we still have 3 different areas, where each area is specifically focused to its customer base.
Exactly. And each of these 3 groups have certainly a lot of technology within, but particularly Ford Pro is where we're more focusing on providing the customer a special experience, focusing on a kind of a service. So this is more of about the software, about understanding of the customer needs and providing as much uptime for their businesses with the commercial vehicles. Okay. Right, so just to give you a little bit of understanding of Ford of Europe and where we are located. So we got main manufacturing plant in Germany, in Cologne, where we recently transformed the old-fashioned plant into the modern electric center where we're going to build our electric vehicles for European customers. Then we got a plant in Saarlouis, which was from mid-70s. That time was the largest plant in the world in terms of manufacturing vehicles. We got a Valencia, which is multi-vehicle plant where we produce our vehicles. And then we got 2 joint venture plants in Romania, in Turkey, where we produce mainly commercial vehicles, recognized transit van, etc. We also have some engine production in Great Britain, close to London, where we produce still combustion engine, some in Valencia, and also Craiova have some portion of engine manufacturing. We got obviously our R&D centers. We got a big one in Cologne. We got one in Dunton, where we focus mainly on the commercial vehicles and also for the Ford Pro, as I mentioned on the previous slide. We're growing some R&D capabilities in Turkey and some small capability also in Valencia.
Well, and coming back to our next targets or our mission, when you read the first text, when you ignore the need to change, what you are ignoring is the customer. Yeah, like Shayan said, they are nothing about their customers, and then same we are. We are nothing about our customers, and we are nothing as well about our suppliers. Yeah. What we understand is really that in the past, to have a car, it was only to get from point A to point B, but it was like in the past with when I see the Nokia on one of the previous slides, the cell phone, who was owning this kind of Nokia and why? I was, yeah, and it was just to call to somebody, to text the SMS. But today, you expect much more from owning phones. It's like smartphone. And in the same way, we transfer our automotive business. To own the vehicle nowadays is not just the purpose is not just to get from point A to point B, but you expect really something more. So what we need to deliver, and we are working really strongly on that together with our partners, with our suppliers, is to provide to our customers customer experience. Yeah. Not just from the driving of the vehicle, but as well from the route planning, from planning the charging of the vehicle. Yeah, that's in the evening, when you are planning next day trip, you just set everything into the application. Next day in the morning, you are sitting into the fully charged vehicle, and the vehicle is already showing you the map, where to go, where to tank, where to charge. And all of these features, this is something what we are starting to delivering to our customers, because I think it's clear, and we believe today that in the next 10 years, the revenue from the digital services and softwares, again, digital services and software revenue in the next 10 years will reach the same average like the revenue from car sales. Yeah, so that's really a big portion into which we are nowadays focusing our activities to digitalization and software applications. Yeah.
Exactly, and in order to get there, we creating a partnership with our suppliers partners, not just in order to get the hardware, but also in order to get a proper advanced software that will be managing all the infrastructure and architecture within the vehicle, and that will actually provide the connectivity between the vehicle and the grid and the external environment. Okay?
Yes, and one part of it is, of course, development of the softwares of our suppliers. But another thing is as well our manufacturing. So there is, well, when I was thinking what everything we will prepare here for the slides to present you, it can be the presentation for the full day, right? Because every single week there is some news coming in the automotive world as well in Ford itself. But one point what I wanted to highlight is our kind of master plan. Yeah? Peter mentioned at the very beginning that we got a headquarter in Ford in Europe in Germany, in Köln. And this factory is there since 1930, when Henry Ford has established it. Yeah? And we are transferring this oldest European company to electric vehicle center, which will be carbon neutral assembly in 1935 and 2035, sorry. And we are still doing everything to reach the target. So this Köln is going to be really the, I would say, golden master plan for all of the Ford operations. Actually, in these weeks, we are launching the first battery electric vehicle there, which will be Ford Explorer. The next vehicle will be a kind of sports crossover. The design and the look of this vehicle should be available, still by the end of the middle of this year. So we are happy to see how it looks like, and that's just to give you some insights what is running right now in Ford in Europe. We finished this reconstruction, and we will be happy to produce the battery electric vehicles in Cologne, and not only in Cologne.
Exactly. The company invested a lot of money in order to create very modern facility that will be ready to build the vehicles for future. And I would really underscore the words of Ministry of Economy here, the challenges that we have as a Europe in order to provide a sustainable automotive business in terms of the resources. Particularly in the propulsion in a battery. Yeah? So position of Europe is not that strong, but I hope that we got the right people, or we're going to have the right people, the lead of that will take us there.
Good, and now about our gaining of the experiences with Baltic supplier from our perspective, you know. First time when I was visiting Lithuania was like almost 15 years ago. In that time I was auditing one of our suppliers in Germany, and I've got a call from my manager that I should fly to Lithuania and make the assessment of one company there that we would like to launch the business. So I flew straight from Germany to Lithuania, take the car, traveling 1 hour to the south, and literally I ended up in a kind of garage production. Yeah. That was a metal company producing some metal components for automotive. And at that time I was like, oh, really? At the end, we didn't run the business there. And since that time I didn't hear about any Lithuania company. Until 2 years ago, I've got again the call, Daniel, we are about to source a company in the Lithuania. You know, please go there, make the assessment. And you know, I'm the guy who is trying to keep the rule, don't have any expectation, don't have any assumptions. But this experience, which I had in my mind from my visit of the automotive company in Lithuania, still was something inside me, and I was keeping some observation or some assumptions still in my head. And at the end, I finished in Kaunas, and I was just looking on the amazing plant with a logo Continental. Yeah. And I was like, really? That happened here in this country within like 12 years? And well, it's obvious that we run the business in Continental. And at the very beginning when we are starting with Continental, I was really impressed about, here on the photo, you can see couple of peoples, and there are 8 different nationalities. Yeah. So the Continental ran absolutely new plant within 1.5 years with a multicultural team And they succeed. They didn't succeed, but they, from my perspective, overreach the target, yeah? Which even we maybe didn't expect at the very beginning, but they did it. So I say, wow, Lithuania, that's really the country where nothing is impossible, you know. And yeah. And Shayan was talking that they run the factory with thanks and full support of, you know, Continental is a worldwide company, with support of another companies, another factories. And I don't know if the plant managers of another factories are still happy by that, because today if I'm traveling to Continental Regensburg, Continental Budapest, Continental Frenchstadt, I'm benchmarking their facilities with the newest facility in Lithuania. I say, go to Lithuania and have a look how they are making it. Yeah? It's like, for me, that's a kind of standard master industry 4.0 facility. So if anybody of you are still thinking how should run the modern factory, not just in Lithuania, but in Europe, get in touch with Shayan and visit the plant there, because this is for me really some kind of master, and I'm using this master in all of my supply chain when I'm traveling to another suppliers. So for me, the strength here is the motivation of the people. I was amazed how Lithuanian people are ready to gain the experience, to gain the knowledge, the technical knowledge, because they are not producing simple plastic or stamping parts. These are the electronic components, sophisticated components, which needs really expertise, and they were capable somehow to make it, of course with our support, definitely. So the willingness of the people here to learn new things, it's amazing. Then the support by the government, what I heard, is amazing as well. So for me, I'm just happy that we will hopefully gain our supply chain in the Baltic countries, and definitely my thinking and my opinion about the Baltic area definitely changed in the last 15 years. So once again, thank you for that. Thanks to Shayan for all of the work over there, and looking forward to continue our cooperation. By the way, this is the photo which we make after the first successful approval of the door control unit into the serial production. And that's it.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I can only add to that. Yeah, Daniel could talk hours and hours about his experience from his working with the local Conti facility and a great team that is here. I'd like to point out that, you know, in order to create a sustainable supply chain and really create a good relationship, be able to cope with the challenges that we're facing, is that, you know, we're no longer treating as suppliers from the vertical point of view, but the supplier, the company supplier are supplier partners for us, right? That we have an absolute equal partnership, and we, as an OEM, would not succeed without our supplier partner, and the other way around. So this is a very key, and as was mentioned by Shayan, I think the key to succeed is the transparency and open communication, which we experience in a great way with our Continental supply partner in Kaunas. So we're looking forward to future cooperation, building our relationship, getting more business here, and we thank you very much for opportunity. Have a short speech here and short introduction of our company and ourselves, and we're looking forward to enjoy today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Confirming
the
performance and benchmark of Lithuanian automotive cluster.
Yes, I actually even have few locations for new plant here. So we will discuss it later. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our next speaker, who is Maxim Zakletsky, with the round of applause. He is the CEO of Hella. And Maxim will speak about transforming with the markets, manufacturing and supply chain in automotive sector. Maxim is known as really a deep expert of these complex problems what we had during those turbulent times. So please, Maxim. And we have checked, and maybe we forgot to highlight you, but still we can ask the questions because there were no questions for Ford. But please, if you will have questions for Maxim, just use the Slido, and the code is, once again, 2667832. Stage is yours.
And you forgot to mention that Maxim, besides his function as a CEO in Hella, he's also member of the board of the Baltic Automotive
Yes,
Cluster.
this is our member of the board.
Thank you. Yeah. It's nice to see you all today. How are you doing? Oh, not sleeping. Very good. I got some fancy stuff here. Okay, let's see if it works. Because I get used to IT coming on your stage and say, oh, we have a great solution to implement. We basically deal to fix it back in a week, in the best case. So let's see. Oh, works. Good. So, Giedrius and the colleagues from the cluster, they were asking me to talk today about the transformations which we experience in the automotive industry. And to start with the transformation, probably I would start with the company itself. We are slightly younger than Shayan. This we cannot fix, unfortunately, but for 125 years we have been living a good life of a German company, pretty much family-owned, with a solid portfolio and working in the pillars of lighting, electronics, and aftermarket solutions. Worldwide, this was the state when we came in Lithuania, almost together with the Continental, and basically, you know, when we see both plants from the windows, we say, okay, we seem to be in the right place. But then, some 2 years ago, all of a sudden, we woke up one morning and we basically discovered that we are in the active transformation phase because we had emerged together with Forvia, with its also very much known name in the automotive industry, I believe, for all of you here. And we became this fancy thing which is called Forvia now. It brought a lot of confusion. We have to do a lot of lessons learned how to properly introduce the name into the market, because I would not repeat how many variations of the name we have been given during the years, but finally we arrived to 6 business units together. I will not stop on them. You could read the slide, but basically we also have the chance to be proud that every second vehicle which is produced worldwide is having the part which is manufactured by this Forvia group. And for me, it was very interesting to observe how this transformation and the change was taken from inside of the company, because it was clearly 2 types of the people. So first type of people, they say, okay, it's a great opportunity, so how we can increase our market and how we can approach customers with more sophisticated solutions, including development, including kitting, including basically producing and developing together. And guess what the second part of people did? They update their CV, right? So they were not able to accept the change. They were afraid of the future. They say, 2 chefs, it's difficult to manage in one kitchen, and they decided to go it in the other way. So please remember that the transformation always have people which are accepting the change and who are not accepting the change. And if you will not work with the people, they will leave you, and as my friend Shayan said earlier, this is our biggest asset, and without people, we basically don't need us. And then, recently, also with support from Invest Lithuania, where they bring the investors to the country, they asked me the question, okay, if you would be given the chance again, will you come to Lithuania or not? And there I put my blondie face and I said 50%. I said, why 50%? Why is so low score? I said, we will either come or we will not come. Because we would basically need to do once again all the research and almost all the steps which Shayan was presenting. We are not unique. We were basically doing the same. But to say that the life is unpredictable, it is. For the 6 years since we're here, in June we will be celebrating 7 years. All the benefits which has been taken as for decision to build the plant, they turn into the biggest challenges along the way. And yeah, like I say, like Shayan say, we cannot move plants. Well, we can, but it will be very expensive exercise. So we have to deal with these challenges. So it's never a good crystal ball to say how good it is with your manufacturing space. 1 year you have enough. The second year you don't know where to put the business because the sales are very active and you need to do something with this. So what we did to be given as an opportunity or a solution for the round is the modular approach. So we have the land, but we didn't build all the plant at once. We expanded with the modules. It has the risk, obviously, because sometimes sales win the business and they say, okay, can we come to Lithuania? I said, yes, but in 15 months, please. But also, I will be very much surprised if the market will change that dramatically, that you will win business overnight and you need to start producing next week. Well, if this will happen, we will need to redo the strategy. Simple as that. Workforce, right? So also lots of people asking me, how come that you get into such a good relations with Shayan? You should be enemies. I said, why? Because you're fighting the same people. I said, yes, we do, but we basically collaborate on this. And we help people to live good lives, pursue careers, restart the careers at the end of the day. And together we can do more with the high schools, with the institutions, with the government, with support, rather than we will be going one by one and you know, play dirty games behind the carpet. So we are open as much as we can be open to each other, staying compliant, but this collaboration is bringing much more positive results than we would be able to achieve going standalone. Attrition rates. Yeah, so when we came, the unemployment rate and the attrition rate, they were actually below 10%. Now the industry standard says we should be at about 20. This is a risk. And here, from one side, of course, we can push for the culture, for the leadership, for all these non-monetary benefits which circling around, so we are not reinventing the wheel. We basically try to tailor the solutions and to change them if one or another doesn't work at this moment of time. But still, people are the key assets. We fight for them. We try to convince them to stay. And if the roads are separated for whatever reason, we are not closing the door saying you can always come back. If you try something different, if you made a mistake, okay. If you accept it, we can have a talk, so we will be welcoming you back, if you're a good performer. Now, yesterday we had an interesting discussion about the challenges we're in, and lots of people were saying, we don't know what to do, customer is lost, we lost too, we need to find a way, but here to flash back a little bit, that basically every year since we're here, they had a challenge. We just forgot about them because we get through them, we successfully solved them, we did lessons learned and we put it in the far back of the brain for the memory. But to refresh your mind and to still show that we can solve it together, you remember the guy? Good. So what happened 4 years ago? So we found ourselves, I think, in the morning on the 17th of March in a totally different reality, because everything what we get used to did not exist anymore. Vacations cancelled, schools closed, borders closed, we cannot travel, you need to keep distance, you cannot come to the plant, you cannot send your manufacturing line to the home, you need to find a solution. But what we learned out of it, and I think COVID overall gave us an opportunity to think wider and to remember that the glass is not half empty and the glass is not half full, but there is no glass. Because out of COVID, what we got now, I think the things which we learn and implement, we cannot imagine the modern life without them, because the boost of IT with all these technologies, with the Teams, with the HoloLenses, with all these clouds, then the hybrid work, who could imagine 5 years ago that we will let people work from home and they will be completely successful with this, right? And now they like it that much that some countries is going into the 4 days working week, and they're still successful with their targets. They get people happy, they achieve the targets, they grow, and if you think about this and you offer it to the board 5 years ago, most likely you will say, it's a good idea, but probably not. Then next year, so it's just an image, but after the COVID or even during the COVID, what did we have? The global semiconductor crisis, which was also very interesting because in the automotive, we get used that we always have parts to produce. We never had the point where the raw material shortage was so insane that the things which cost cents become like $10 a piece, and if you want to keep your commitments to the customer, you have to pay it. Otherwise, you will not get any parts. And the reasons were known. So because people stay home, they wanted more home network multimedia and the white goods and everything. And of course, the capacities which we have established at the suppliers, they were not able to cover everything. So we went into the understanding of cash is the king. Now this word is everywhere. So if you ask everyone around, they keep saying it, the cash, it's the king. But it has been started with the semiconductor crisis. So value stream, supply chain optimization, the R&D, the globalization of the services, all these grow with another challenge which we had 3 years ago. Then, 2 years ago, the world decided to start shaking the boat, because now it's easier to look at the map and say where we don't have a conflict, rather than the region where we do have a conflict. So we have it everywhere, and in the beginning the customers was also shocked and stunned because the supply chain didn't work, supplies disappeared, they have to reprogram, they have to replan. Certain countries has been disconnected from the global supply chain map, and with all these bad things which are starting happening in the countries, we still have to find out the way how to be successful. So many companies looked into the footprint, they look into the crisis management, they look into the business continuity planning, because I think until 2022, the crisis or the impact of war or the active military operations, that was just on the paper, because no one believing that this could happen in the modern world. Well, it did happen. And yeah, the last trends which Minister was mentioning already, this is happening now. So what do we have? We have very active marketing from the Chinese OEMs into the markets of Europe, and Europe was not ready for this. The first reaction to implement the bans to the Chinese cars coming to the Europe has a risk that China will implement the same on their end, and German OEMs realize that they have a risk of losing a significant sales of the premium segment, which they execute in China. So they cannot solve it this way, but this is now where we are once again. So we don't know how, but with the approach which we have, I believe we will be able to make it happen. But now it's a little bit of the what's ahead of us. So S&P Global, which is a very valuable source of the information that we can trust, they say that for this fiscal year, what we see is we do not see any increase in the volumes of the light vehicle production in the world. And if you split the segments, Americas shows a little bit of the growth, which is artificial, because I think in America now everybody waiting for the elections, for the president, and where the vector will go, nobody knows. China's doing good. Europe is not looking good, because if you look back for 5 years, every year the prognosis of the production of the light cars has been reducing. And now what the same company says is that for the upcoming 5 years, we will not have any growth in Europe in total. And the reasons are obvious, because, as I said, we go into the price war with the Chinese OEMs, the cost of living is growing, the cost of resources is growing, inflation, then, like I said, we have uncertainty what to do with all the subsidies in Europe, because more and more countries is now cutting the subsidy for the EV. And if you compare without the subsidy, the price for the European EV car, which is manufactured by Mercedes or Volkswagen or BMW, it's 3 times more expensive than the same car with the Chinese OEM can offer in the market. And the threat is getting even more bigger, because they built the first plant in Hungary. So something which was theoretical now become true. And again, the Minister of Transport mentioned this. In the last exhibition, the majority of the offers was coming from the Chinese manufacturers. Well, not to end up on the negative note, I think we still can, right? Because otherwise we will not be successful. So we have been going through the transformations which I was showing. So starting from the COVID, semiconductor crisis, then we had all this geopolitical situation, and now we need to count on the China as a very strong player around us. I still believe we can, because I would like to quote a known person in the automotive world, Mr. Anderson, who said a couple of years ago that taking time to look back and think what happened and reflect it in your activities will bring you to the future faster than without this. And as the takeaway, I could only recommend, I mean, it's your choice to take it or not to take it. As I said, get used to the fact and tell your colleagues and the workers there is no glass. We cannot limit ourselves anymore into the boundaries. We need out-of-the-box solutions, because this is what all the others do to be successful. If we will not do this, we have a chance to disappear from the map. It's great that my friend Shayan said that they have a vision. We also have a vision, but I would ask all of you to ask yourself in this room, do you really have a vision for your business? And if not, probably it's worse to make it. But once you have a vision, challenge the strategy, challenge the status quo, because the vision is carved in the stone, but the way you get there could be different. It could change any day. The green effect, you know the saying that the good is the enemy of the best. If your KPIs are too good and too green, most likely you are not challenging yourself too much. Maybe it's time to rethink, reconsider, not everywhere, but focus on what you do best, master it, develop it, and then you will get the benefits, and then you will get something which will increase your shares or save your margin or be better with the cash, whatever you aim at. Right? Empower your employees, biggest asset, lovely asset. Once again, we are nobody without them. And last but not least, this is what I constantly say to my leadership team, and probably you will also get used from this sentence, is we need to be comfortable to become uncomfortable. If we stay in the comfort zones, there will be no success and no victories. If we will repeat the same things and we expect the different results to happen, that's called insanity, right? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, it is time, or you can catch me later on if you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maxim.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My own now. Thank you very much, Maxim, for your really good insights. We didn't have the questions, but yes, like Maxim said, you can always catch our speakers here somewhere. Okay, so now we move on, right?
Yeah, and we welcome Mr. Raymond Gense to the stage, and he will come with a new topic, old new topic. It's about cycling. And I remember when I was a student in '99, I traveled to China. And we did a little project on public urban transport. And we went to Wuhan, and I remember discussing with the deputy mayor of Wuhan the traffic concept of the future for China. And there was still a lot of bicycles on the road in the cities. And for the deputy mayor, it was like the least attractive means of transport. And his first priority was how to get the bicycles out of the city. And at that time, I told him, maybe you should rethink before doing that, or you will regret it, because in all parameters, consuming of space per traveled kilometer or CO2 or whatnot, it's not such a stupid means for urban transport. What many don't know is that actually Lithuania is one, together with Portugal, maybe the most important production site for bicycles in Europe. And let's learn a bit from you and which role Lithuania can play, because the transport challenges will be only solved, I think, with different modes of transport, smartly, intelligently interacting with each other, and the bicycle, I think, will play a big role in that. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for being here. And when I came here and I saw this banner, Automotive Industry Forum, I think I'm the strange guy in the room today. And I would like to rename this into Mobility Industry Forum, and this is what I will be talking about. I'm a board member of Cyclists Industry Europe, and as you have seen, I also work for PON. We have this manufacturing site here in Lithuania. And after my presentation, you most probably will understand why we, as a Dutch importer of VW products, went into the bike business, because the synergies are very clear there. So what I will talk about is the growing importance of cycling. As you already said, it's an ecosystem of mobility that's arising. And this ecosystem is widening itself. It's not only the cars, you said in China it was bikes. In the Netherlands the same. We have more bikes than we have cars in the Netherlands. And so there is something going on there. I'll talk to you about a few figures that you can understand that market, because most of the people in the room most probably have not seen many figures from the bicycle market. I will tell a little bit about how these figures occurred, what the motives are, what lessons we learned, and which opportunities this gives for the future. So if you look at the bicycle market in Europe, this is the red line above, where everybody might think bicycling use and sales is growing in Europe, it's effectively very stable over the years. You see this peak of COVID there, and now it's going down. The sector has a little bit of overstock at this moment. But what we see is that the electric bike, the e-bike, has grown significantly in the European sales, up to about 20% at this moment. And because these electric bikes are 5 to 10 times more expensive than the conventional bikes, the revenue of the sector has grown enormously. And the other thing is, if we grow this further, this might be a very big opportunity for us. We think we can grow to 40% of electric sales in Europe in 2030. At some point in time, somewhere in 2018 or something like that, I had discussions with the Dutch government on the bicycles and why we, the company PON, with VW as a brand we sold, were not selling sufficiently electric cars in their perspective. I said, yeah, we have put more electric wheels on the road than every car OEM has done ever, because we sell electric bikes. And at this moment, it's not that different. So there is a role for the bike in the ecosystem. If you then look to where do we sell bikes in Europe, this steady line, you see Germany being the biggest market, France, Britain, the Netherlands, which you might expect to be a big market. It's in fact a medium market, but this is all depending on the size of the country, the amount of people that can cycle, and the amount of people that want to cycle. And you see, for instance, in this line, I can stipulate this a little bit more in showing you the actual percentage of electric bikes sold in the complete system. And you see that the Netherlands is on top. There is more than 50% of sales of this, at this moment in the Netherlands. It's electric. Second best is Germany. And what strikes especially is Austria. In the Netherlands and Germany is most probably because we are rich, and I will show you because we are relatively old. In Austria, it's clearly that they have hills, and if you want to bike, you like assistance. So there are all kinds of motives why you use electric bike and why this electric bike boom is pushing the sector. Where did it all start? It started with demographics. These are demographic charts from the Netherlands, but I compared them all over the world, and it's all the same. We get older. And if we get older, it's good for us to stay mobile. And when we started the electrification with the bicycles in the Netherlands, and it's happening everywhere, it happened because people are getting older. You see the demographics here. The peak is in people around 50 years old. And if you can put them on a bike, and you can do that by putting them on an electric bike, you have a new market. And then you get people of 80 years old getting on bikes. This on the other side is also something that got into the minds of people that an electric bike is something for old people only. This is something we have to get rid of to grow the market, of course. But the market doesn't grow because of the demographics only. The market grows significantly and predominantly by the amount of infrastructure that is in place. It's the saying, and it's always true. The sales, the usage follows the infrastructure, not the other way around. You cannot sell a bike before there is infrastructure. And if you look at the figure here, this is the infrastructure in Europe. You will see where we are here at this moment is relatively empty in terms of bike path. And you can correlate this almost one-to-one to my first charts where we have the most sales. If you then put Lithuania and the Netherlands in the chart, and you see the amount of bike infrastructure compared to road infrastructure, you can see the Netherlands is on second place, and Lithuania is the one above the last. So there is still some room to grow in Lithuania, I would say. And that's a good thing, because this is easy to grow. A piece of cycle path costs 10 times less than a piece of road. The main thing that is driving people and governments especially in terms of putting pressure on the bicycle and the electric bike is the health benefit. The health benefit, the World Health Organization is also pushing this enormously. And what we showed already in a significant amount of studies, that the health benefit of using a bike or an electric bike is not different. It's about going outside, it's about being active in traffic, that keeps you healthy. And that you are helped by that is just a coincidence or a good thing. And if you are helped in cycling, older people stay on their bikes longer and are healthy for a longer time. You can see this also in the figures. If you look at the European figures on what the actual benefits are of people on bikes, you see the categories of environment, business, health, and congestion. And many people think it's all about congestion and air pollution. In fact, it's not. The big pictures are in health. 73 billion euros of health benefit, people being longer healthy, using less costs of the system to stay healthy, and also sickness in workplace. And the other one is the bicycle market itself. It's 13 billion euros. And look at tourism. People always forget tourism. People think that biking is something you do to your work or whatever you do, but the tourism sector around biking is enormous. But these developments come with challenges. This is a typical street in the Netherlands where you see that we have so many bikes, and not only bikes, but also cargo bikes and other stuff like that, that it becomes too crowded. In the Netherlands, we are fighting at this moment for space on the bike path. So this can be a deficit, this is becoming delicate. We are talking about the width of a cargo bike, how wide can it be to stay on the bike path, what is the maximum speed, 25 kilometers per hour, 45 kilometers per hour. So we have our challenges there. So if you grow, if Lithuania gets into this situation in the next 10 years, you are lucky, I would say. Parking bikes. This is a picture of Amsterdam, the central station of Amsterdam, where they piled up the bikes, because in the Netherlands, just for your information, there are more bikes in the Netherlands than people. Most of us have 3 or 4 bikes. So we had this situation, and we built the best and most beautiful bike parking system I think, in the world. It's underground, it's in Amsterdam, under the water. And if you make bike parking good, people start biking to the office, start biking to the train, and they start using the bikes. The other discussion, of course, we have is helmets. Do we need to put a mandatory helmet situation in place? We are fully on board that it's the stupidest thing to do. Because we know that if you put a helmet obligation into your legislation, you will lose out 30% of the cyclists. We saw it now with the mopeds in the Netherlands. So if you lose 30% of the cyclists, they will become older in a less healthy way. So we have still in the Netherlands, we didn't get the obligation and will not get that one. Of course, the bikes, as I already said, the bikes get more expensive, so we have a theft thing at this moment at our hand, which we are trying to deal with connected bikes to find them once they are stolen. We have a 95% effectiveness rate on finding back these bikes, so connectivity is a very important thing in bicycles as well. And one thing is supply chain was already discussed this morning earlier. Supply chain is a big thing for us. Because where in the past the bike was 2 wheels, a little bit of steel frame, pedals, and a lighting, at this moment there is a battery in it. And the battery has a potential environmental deficit if you don't do it right in the supply chain. So we have, as a sector, have to deal with completely different supply chain issues, also on the environmental side, than we had in the past. But then, how to grow this further? What policies make this grow? If you look into the policies that are made, most policies have to deal with high prosperity in countries, more people wanting to live in cities, and people getting older. And if you don't do anything, you will get much more traffic, you will not reach your CO2 goals, you will have high casualties in traffic, and your economic growth, which we have been talking about today, will deficit from that. And luckily, we as an industry, and also the bike industry, has solutions in terms of connectivity, electrification, the model shift to other modes, and in the end, you will talk about this afternoon, autonomous driving. And sharing systems, mobility as a service, of course, brings this ecosystem further together. And in all of this, the bike has a role. So it's not it's really logical for policymakers to put the bike in the center of the system. And you will put the bike in the center of the system because it's connected, just like cars. It's electrified, just as cars. And they are part of sharing systems more and more. And these sharing systems bring this new mobility ecosystem together with a very important role for the bicycle next to the car and next to public transport. But then how to grow? What policies are in place? I took this picture from the minister was talking about his discussion yesterday with the European Cycling Federation, and they made this beautiful chart of investments in Europe, all over Europe. And you see that some countries like Poland are largely investing in bicycles, but the nice thing is that Lithuania is also in the top 5. Lithuania has seen it, and Lithuania is investing largely, especially per capita. So it's a lot of work that has been done. And if you look at the Netherlands, we're doing nothing. The Dutch government believes that we have a saturated market, everything is in place, and they don't have to do anything. This morning we have seen the introduction of a new parliamentary plan, because we had elections half a year ago. And in this plan, as the minister already said, and you said, there is no push for electrification of cars anymore. So the bikes have to do the job, I'm sure. We will see that the policies that we have in place change from infrastructure funding and purchase subsidies, which were the old measures. They will change into car restrictions into big cities, where the bike becomes the more dominant way of transport in the city. We will see obligations from the European Commission to have mobility as a service systems in place in all the cities bigger than 100,000 people, where the bike is part of that as well. And we see from the European Commission production support for production in Europe. Production in Europe, and we are in Lithuania, we are not for nothing in this place, reshoring to Europe so that we can compete with subsidized and cheap Chinese labor is one of the things that we actually want to do. And the European Commission has made a step there. The European Commission has signed, together with the industry, this European Declaration on Cycling, which effectively says that the European Commission wants to double cycling in Europe by 2030. That's a good perspective. If I hear the speaker before me thinking, where are we going? Is there a market? On the bicycle side, there is full push. And if you look at the figures then, these are worldwide figures you see here, that at this moment already there's 150 billion euros going around in the bicycle sector. And if this all comes true, we will double the amount of jobs to more than 2 billion jobs worldwide in the sector. And if you look at the European perspective, then it becomes interesting, because we will have more than 10 million Europe-built bikes. And Europe-built bike manufacturing is effectively assembling things from a lot of stuff that comes from China, that came from China a long time ago. All the plans are there, and one of the reasons that we are in Lithuania is that we want to manufacture in Europe. And in 2030, there is a plan now to manufacture 70 to 80% of all the parts also in Europe. So we get European-built bikes. Including batteries, yes. Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, of course. But if we do it right, we can also save a lot of CO2 emissions, because on your question, the battery is, of course, the thing with the biggest, except for the aluminium of the frames, is the biggest challenge we have to get it sustainable. But if we can manufacture in Europe, and the carbon tax, border tax adjustment system comes in place at 2028, we will have big benefits on the CO2, and so the CO2 taxes, the import taxes, when we produce in Europe. And this is the big trigger for us to do it in Europe and not stay in China, where for the bicycle sector, 80% of the components come from, because they were cheap. But they are not so environmentally friendly, so this is rapidly changing. So there are also factories, like you said, there is a battery factory, a Chinese company, car company coming to Hungary for production. Manufacturing of components is also coming, especially to the east of Europe, for manufacturing in Europe. I don't talk about the total ecosystem a lot, but you see there is a lot of points in the complete ecosystem where you can engage and where growth is dominant. And the growth is also coming from new models, not only selling a bike, that's one thing, but you can also subscribe a bike. This is one of the biggest successes of the company I work for, the bike with the blue tire, where we have 250,000 subscribed bikes in a lot of cities in Europe. We see bike leasing coming up. Because of the bikes, the electric bikes are so much more expensive than the conventional bikes. The access for people to get a bike is more difficult. But if the employer has a tax incentive scheme in which he can do this, which some companies have, like Germany, you see that almost 50% of the sales of electric bikes in Germany is via a lease construction, which is beneficial for the company and beneficial for the user. So we are going into bike leasing. And shared mobility, I already said it, shared mobility is important, is pushed by policies, is pushed in cities. And if you look at the European average at this moment, you see a lot of scooters on the street, but 48% of all the shared mobility in the street is a bike. So a bike is a very important factor. And the last part, before I end up, is the push from Europe. Very recently, a month ago, the European Commission has incorporated the cycle industry in their mobility transition pathways. You know, most probably, mobility transition pathways, this is the push program from the European Union to push industry in Europe, was working with automotive, marine, and rail. And since 1 month, bike is in as well. So taken as a serious mobility ecosystem part overall. I will not read all of this because these are the things that the European Commission, DG GROW, so the Ministry of Economics of the European Commission, has said. And they are really going to push the bicycle industry to become a very serious and well-supported industry branch in the European ecosystem. So I would say all the lights are on green. We have a European sector. We can build this sector further. There is a lot of interlinkage with the automotive sector because the jobs are, to a certain extent, similar. And I think we can make this growth work. And the sector is behind it with all kinds of European players, one of them being our company here in Lithuania. Thank you very much. Yep.
Thank you, Raymond. We have one question from Slido. And Anonymous asked, do you also have data related to bicycle accidents?
Yes, of course.
And how you plan to address this in the future?
Yeah. I can give you the Dutch figures. Bicycle accidents in the Netherlands, of course, because we have this crowded market, are there and there to stay. But on a total of about 800 fatalities in transport, on road transport in the Netherlands, about 160 are bicycle related. And this figure is growing. Cars are getting more safe. So the cocoon of a car is so safe at this moment, especially the assisted driving is so safe, that the cars are getting down, bikes are getting bigger, but from these 160 fatal accidents, half of them is one-sided. So people just fall off their bike by stepping on it. That's especially the older people. So we need to do something about that. That's the figures we have. We have also seen that if we would have a helmet obligation in the Netherlands, we could, from the 160, we could save 30. It's 30 too much, of course. But if we would have the helmet obligation, we would have 100,000 more heart attacks where people would die from. So we have won this discussion in every way. So the 30 people and also the 160 people, it's very, very pitiful, but not going into cycling is much more devastating than allowing people to drive on an e-bike without a helmet.
And maybe last question, how many bikes you produce in Lithuania at the moment, per week or per month?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I actually don't know. We're just starting our production now, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, POM Bike will gonna produce 450,000 per year bikes.
Once we're up and running.
Yeah, and POM Bike is already second bicycle factory what we have, and it attracts, like it was on even in the presentations, a lot of attention from Asia. because lots of components are in Asia. So it was the big deal for Lithuania and also for the Europe to have another great factory here. So yeah.
So we'll soon have the bicycle cluster.
Yes. So mobility, automotive is very much related.
Bicycle cluster is in the plans of the European Commission in transition pathways. It's written out. It's not bicycle cluster Lithuania, but it's bicycle clusters.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Raymond, for being here.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you very much, Raymond.
Thank you.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to focus on the broader discussion. And we will invite our panelists because we will have a discussion which is titled Innovating Mobility, Overcoming Challenges and Seizing Opportunities. And I would like to ask our moderator for the panel, Mrs. Ieva Kiskyte from Invest Lithuania, to overtake us on the stage. And also I would like to ask all the panelists to come here. So we will start with Mr. Karolis Zemaitis, who is the Vice Minister of Ministry of Economy and Innovation. Yes, we have Shayan Ali, and also Raymond Gense. Actually, you should come back on stage. Maxim, you already know. Yes, so thank you very much and enjoy.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Welcome to our first panel discussion you choose. Of the day. It's my honor to be here today with key experts that we will share the insights of the current state, challenges and future prospects of mobility in Europe and in Lithuania. I want to start our discussion with more broader view about what is happening in mobility sector. We have amazing presentations, but just from a bigger picture. Shayan, maybe we can start from you?
Sure.
So what do you think? What is happening? Because as you and Maxim mentioned, there are very turbulent times in the mobility industry. What are the core challenges in the whole Europe?
Well, I think as you see, the volumes are kind of stagnant, as we also saw in the light vehicle production. However, the strategy of going, I would say, more towards emission-free mobility. Right? I think this is really the target for pretty much all of us here. It's tied to the European Union regulations for sure, because we have to meet the regulation standards. I foresee that the future is really carved with still geared towards achieving those targets, and those targets have to be met at a certain time frame, and therefore the stagnant growth is just a temporary situation, in my opinion. It will just be growing further down the road in the next few years. I foresee that the platform of autonomous mobility will be really, really accelerating. It's not an unknown thing to see, especially in the automotive sector, how things change overnight. So I really foresee that this is a temporary situation, and companies like us who are working with our OEMs are really, really focused on making sure we keep our eyes on the road and not fall behind. And therefore, that's really the key element here, that as we are progressing with our technologies, we are supporting the automotive platforms, the infrastructure around it also has to progress. And we should not be really relaxed on that area, and we should really focus on making sure that we are doing the right things to enable this future that is holding for us.
Thank you, Shayan. Maxim, maybe we can continue with you. Do you agree with Shayan? You mentioned a lot of challenges facing, the industry. So what is your take on this? What do you think is the most important challenge that the industry have to overcome in the upcoming years?
Well, is that thing working? Okay, good. So we do have challenges, but if we don't need to be there. And I think we built a very good foundation from the tier one suppliers towards the OEMs. So we were investing into technologies, into the people, into logistics and the supply chains to be ready together with our research and development teams to basically have a product which will be needed and accepted by the OEMs. But what we also see is the OEMs, they do have a turbulent times now, because what they plan couple of years ago is not really work, and they need to rethink the strategy, staying within these limitations of all the laws and the obligations and everything what is about the green mobility, because the European Union still asks us to comply with all the targets and the due dates. And that's a little bit now the time when we need to follow our customers. We need to predict the wishes, and with everything that we invest in the past, we need to start using the benefits from it from now and into the future.
Thank you. Very interesting insights. Raymond, I'm very happy that we not only have automotive leaders, government representative in this panel discussion, but also micromobility expert. So I'm very curious to hear your insights, because I know that for micromobility, in terms of production, this year was also quite challenging. What is your take on this?
Yeah, there is a lot happening. As you said, micromobility bikes, of course, you saw the peak in Corona. We are at this moment overstocked, still a little bit, but it's going down on the bikes, because at the peak everybody bought a bike when they were at home. You showed everybody was home wanted to bike. Now people have a bike, and so they postpone it. So we are on a cycle there. The cycle on itself for the cycles is not the biggest problem, I think. The bigger thing is, and your presentation struck me with the landfill and then the factory 1 year later. It's many times not possible in a European context, maybe except for Lithuania, as an industry producer to shift as fast as politics sometimes shifts in terms of what they want. As I said already this morning, we heard this morning that just like the German government did by the 1st of January, they just stop the subsidy for electric cars. And we, as an industry, are investing enormous amounts of money, and it doesn't matter if it's cars, bikes, or micromobility, or shared systems. We are investing enormous amounts of money to make the technology work, but I think it's a deficit of Europe maybe, that we are a little bit slower and hampered by the way we want to do it in terms of the best legislation fitted to everything. So we are a little bit slower, but we have to have a perspective from the governments, starting with Europe, that the direction we invest our money in is going into the right direction. And if an example on micro-mobility, for instance, we had an enormous pilot process in the Netherlands on mobility as a service. The government invested 20 million euros just in 7 pilots to make things work. And we made software platforms together with shared mobility, everything around it. We made it work, but the government didn't put in place a scheme in which for the average user, it was beneficial to have this shared mobility working. So we needed, on the platform that we developed, we needed about 100,000 active people. We had 300 after a year. So we were expecting that the government wanted this, put an enormous amount of money in developing technology, and once we had the technology, the people are just people. They choose for the most comfortable and cheapest way to be transported. And if the government rules are not aligned with what we want, we have just almost wasted the money. So good European, strong, especially stable legislation is what makes us tick. And if this is okay, and if we can find each other, I'm looking a little bit at you, but if we as producers can have the right chemistry with the governments, and we have sometimes different things to deal with, but if the chemistry is right, that we understand each other, that we have to help each other with good legislation, but stable legislation, we can make this work in Europe as well.
Okay. Talking about the government, Karolis, obviously, you know, you being the Vice Minister of Economy and Innovation are always in the center of mobility industry as well. My question is, what role does Lithuania play in mobility, and how important for Lithuanian government is both automotive and micro-mobility industries?
Well, I think this question is twofold, and when we look at mobility, we always have to look from at least 2 points of view, the consumption point of view and the production point of view. And when it comes to consumer point of view, consumption point of view, it's a question, you know, about infrastructure, how we incentivize people to use the technology. On the other hand, I'm coming from Ministry of Economy. In many cases, I'm focusing on the production point of view, how to produce and ensure not only the consumption side, but also the production side. And I think in Europe, we have a little bit of this dilemma in general, because Europe is, in many cases, a very consumer-driven market by its regulation, meaning that we put a lot of efforts in Europe about protecting the consumer, focusing on the consumer. And sometimes I have this feeling that, in many cases, in different industries, including the mobility industry, is that whether are we not going to end up being a very rich region in the world, basically to consume American Chinese technologies. If the hardware is Chinese, the software is American, but the consumer is European. And this is not the way I would like to see the European industry in general. I would like to see also the European production being that could play a big and very pivotal role in the global automotive and mobility competition. And that is, I think, something that is also keeps us at night in Lithuania when it comes to the European scene, because of course we have to comply to a lot of different kind of European regulations, but the discussions that we have in Brussels is about how to ensure that we're not only consumers of innovation, but also producers of innovation. And here comes a lot of different aspects. First of all, is the regulatory environment, how we are supporting our own local industries or international players who are working and creating in Europe. Another aspect is, of course, the stability and predictability of the regulation, be it the European, be it the national. And the German example is very good, how impactful sometimes the governmental decisions are. And in Lithuania, we're trying to be careful about that. We acknowledge the impact of the governmental regulations. And sometimes, and this is a big discussion that is happening on all the levels, national, municipal even sometimes, and European, how to ensure that on one hand, we are keeping up the pace, the global pace. On the other hand, protecting the consumers. On the third hand, we are fostering the local innovation. And I like more the Lithuanian approach, where we really try to find the ways how to accelerate business rather than regulate business. It's not the case among all the European countries. And of course, when it comes to European regulation, we have to agree among the 26 other countries as well. But I think, I totally agree that, predictability, stability, and understanding is critical. But I have to acknowledge as well that in many cases, the decision makers, they have the fundamental idea what they want to do. But when it comes to the overall governmental machine, there's not so much understanding about the very specificities of your business. And I'm always telling that you have to educate the public service as well. Because about the specificities, about the nuances that you know best, but the decision makers, they don't know all these details, and sometimes they're not well informed about what is needed. Of course, it depends on the decision makers whether they want to listen to you or not, but I think this collaboration and dialogue is critical, because otherwise, the regulation goes in one direction and the industries goes into another. And if we want to keep the European industry, heart beating, I think we need a little bit to sit down and have a closer dialogue than we had before.
Amazing. Yeah, completely agree. Now I want to shift our discussion towards innovations more, because there are so many buzzwords like big data, smart city, autonomous driving. Yet sometimes it is quite hard to pinpoint what is actually, will be driving the innovation. Raymond, from e-bike industry, what will you think will be the main innovation that will change the landscape of, how we perceive e-bikes? Especially because in the slide you showed the problem of, parking. So maybe there is something in that arena.
Yeah, I think there are in fact two main challenges in this e-bike sector. The one I already mentioned very shortly is the supply chain, the sustainable supply chain. But this is not about how these e-bikes behave in the city. What we see is at this moment that we have good products, the electric products, and we see the next step that comes in now is the connectivity. But the connectivity starts at this moment with being in a very effective anti-theft, find back your stolen bike thing, where, for instance, a company like Bosch integrates the connectivity in their engine. So you can, if you want to take out the tracker, you have to take out the engine. And without the engine, the bike has no value. So the integration of these systems is very important. And once we have the integration in the system, and it starts with the biggest value for a bike owner is finding back his very expensive stolen bike, then the other things come in. And the other things that come in is the connectivity in terms of vehicle-to-vehicle communication, where in fact your communication to the cars and the car connectivity is virtually a digital blind spot mirror. So the car recognizes there is a bicycle on the road. Geofencing is something we have in the Netherlands at this moment. There are not a lot, there are some 45 km/h bikes that people use to travel from city to city on bike highways. But 45 km/h in Amsterdam is far too fast. But we want the 45s for the rural area, but we don't want them in the city. And now we have an experiment in Amsterdam where we geofence. When you enter the city, the thing goes 25. When you go out of the city, it automatically goes 45. So the innovation that was until 3-4 years ago was typical car industry digitalization innovation. It gets into the systems of the bicycle in a very, very high speed. And it makes this bike part of this new ecosystem in terms of visibility, in terms of vulnerability. And when you look at the sharing economy, when you want to share things and everything is connected, the mobility as a service things get very easy then. So I think at this moment, the connectivity on the bike is one of the most relevant developments we have, where the bike as itself, and the e-bike also, is relatively mature at this moment, as long as we get the supply chain correct in terms of sustainability.
Okay, thank you. Maxim, in terms of automotive industry, how do you perceive it, especially with electrification? Obviously, it was a big burden for traditional European OEMs and autonomous driving, and we are not seeing it currently in Europe. So when do you think we will see first cars, autonomous driving cars in Europe?
It depends on the customers. I mean, we have a lot of discussions which has been started in the US, and all the efforts coming from the Tesla side to make the car fully autonomous and not depending from the driver. There is a lot of legislations still in Europe which would not allow to do this. There were definitely efforts with the trucks, with the commercial vehicles in Scandinavia, but I think what's important now is to take our customers a little bit out of what we say a deer in the headlights status, because everything what they have been planning to date is not fully working, because there was a strong push to have the EV by 2030, and by this the classic combustion car engines has been declined to support any longer. So, and obviously the parts which are responsible for the engine operations in the car has been end of production, literally. And now what they say is most likely because of all these, they need to rethink the strategy, and they have to think more about the hybrid solutions, which would not be a full EV, but something in between the classic engine and the target state, for many reasons, like I mentioned. So the strong push from Chinese OEMs, which are offering 3 times cheaper car comparing to the German OEMs, readiness of the infrastructure. This is what we touched base here from the stage today, that in some countries we are better developed, in the other countries we are not yet developed, and A lot of expectations are placed into the government organizations to catch up, and here it's the topic about understanding why and what and priorities. So once we will be able to clarify these questions, I think we will see where the next step is.
Thank you. Karolis, maybe you can add, so where Lithuania stands on this, because I know Lithuania is very focused on innovation. So do you think, our very flexible and government support in general really will help attract more companies in Lithuania?
Well, I hope so. I don't know. Well, we see I think we are on a good track. On the other hand, my job is to see the ways how we could improve the status quo, and it's a non-stop race for investments, for innovation, and I like it, because if you stop for 1 second, there will be Poland, there will be Czech Republic, there will be Slovakia, there will be Hungary, who will be implementing something, who will be doing something. It's a continuous race for investments, for business climate, and actually the fact that we are living in this super competitive region, Central, Eastern, Northern European region, I like it because it really pushes us forward as well. And it is something that, Lithuania had a focus on innovation, on having a business-friendly climate, and that's why I'm very happy and proud that we have companies like Continental, like Hella, like PON in Lithuania, because of various reasons, including, I suppose, as well, a friendly business climate. On the other hand, this is a process, and we are right now currently analyzing what we should improve and how we should move forward, because also the climate is changing, the geopolitical climate is changing, the economic climate is changing. 2-3 years ago, we didn't discuss about IRA and the impact of IRA to automotive and manufacturing industry. Now it's a fact, that this is something that the European decision makers are thinking about. And Lithuania is in a tricky position, because we are not Germany, we are not France, we are not Poland. We don't have deep pockets, to subsidize everything, and we don't want to do that. We want to find the smart way, but a competitive way, how we could still, even though we don't have the deepest pockets in Europe, still be an attractive location for international companies. And what we see is that in many cases, businesses are the ones who are pushing for innovation, as well in the areas that are not related to business itself, because even your presence here is a huge push for decision makers and for governments and for regulators to think what is our business climate and how we should engage and change the realities, not in the areas not only related to business. For example, I don't know, bikes infrastructure. Yeah, this is something that is not directly related to PON's activities in Lithuania, but PON's position here is a big driver as well to rethink that if we have one of the largest bicycle manufacturers in Europe, what is our status with the bike lanes? And these things, even though they might not seem related, they are actually related. And I think, this is a continuous race, and I could, tell you 10 things that, Lithuania is very good at, and 10 things that Lithuania needs to improve, But I think being very honest with yourself is something that we also need to escalate and say that we have a lot of challenges as well in Lithuania, but this is the only way for us to move forward, because otherwise Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and Poland will take us over, and then I'm always consciously thinking about that, because otherwise, you can stop and be happy about the guys who are here and do nothing, and then, our competitors will take over immediately.
Okay. Shayan, maybe we're back to you, as obviously Continental Lithuania is very innovative. How do you perceive this in terms of autonomous driving? How do you see the future in this realm?
Well, I think what we have to really focus on, and I agree with Raymond, what he was talking about, the micromobility. Let's start there. Micromobility to autonomous mobility. It's a full ecosystem, yeah. And the connectivity is one side, the most key element here. to be able to lean on, because if the cars and the micromobility road infrastructure is not fully connected, this system doesn't work. Let's be real, right? You have to have each cars talking to each other. You have to have the traffic light system talking to each other, the road infrastructure, the camera system able to read the signs of the roads. I mean, it is a very complex system, and it doesn't work just with one automotive supplier or one automotive OEM. The whole system has to be connected. So one side there is connectivity. The other side is affordable mobility, because people have to have the means to be able to afford it. So one side you can push the regulation all you want, and this is really this catch-20 situation we are in right now. So one side, we are forced to be able to comply to the regulations, to go to the emissions-free mobility zone. But on the other side, if we are not giving our end consumers to be able to afford that technology that we are trying to push, then it doesn't work. Hence, you need a full system here working. So if the regulations providers, and in this case, I also talk about the government, the subsidies, we also saw, we talked about the US market versus the Europe market. There are still significant subsidies available for EV cars in other parts of the world, where Europe is going the other way. And then if you look into the sales of the EV, you see it's a stagnant decline. This is not going to our favor. Then you talk about healthy competition. So if our competitors from outside Europe is bringing in cheaper technology, for sure, consumers like you and I will obviously pay for the less money. It's just pretty clear. It's people's pockets you're talking about, right? So it doesn't work if the entire ecosystem is not being supported also by the legislation providers. So that means we need more subsidies, we need more incentives to be pushed. We need the infrastructure and the roads to be working in harmony with companies like us, in our technologies, with our OEMs, to be able to create that system. Now, if you ask me, is it gonna come? Yes, it has to come.
It sounds very pricey, all the things that you mentioned at the beginning.
It's an investment, but it's an investment for the future to be sustainable. Like any investment, you have to have a payback time. The payback time will come. But if you don't invest now, then it will never come. That's the point, right?
Mm-hmm. With all the new trends and innovation, obviously the regulations are coming in, especially with you focusing more on Green Deal. For automotive industry, this is a very heavy burden. So Maxim, maybe you as the CEO of one of the leading companies can share how you are dealing with new regulations. Is it more of a challenge or opportunity for companies like yourself?
Well, it's a challenge which we need to turn into the opportunity, because otherwise we would not be successful. And as Shayan said, and as Raymond said, now what we see, it's a change in the habit of the people who are using the cars or the bikes, because 15 years ago it was a trend that people want to live out of the cities, and to commute they need a car, maybe 2, maybe 3, depends how big is your family. Now there is an upturn, and people want to come back and live in the cities because they found it very attractive, because during the COVID and afterwards the level of services developed and grew dramatically. So now you could live in the downtown, and you can have food delivered to your door. You can do all this e-shopping. Your best restaurant will deliver. Your small grocery store is just behind the corner and 100 meters away. And even that can be delivered to you in these nice cars, which we have seen today in the presentation in the morning. And if you look from the other end, you have a car. This is the asset which is constantly losing the value. It's depreciating faster than anything else. Then you have a burden with insurance, parking, finding the space to park. It's expensive. There is still a risk that the downtowns will be sooner or later blocked for the car entries, for the pedestrians and for the bikes. So people are now looking at, is the car really something which they need to invest in, what they need to have? So maybe it's better to have a bike, maybe it's better to go a healthy lifestyle and walk, and also the public transport is developing. And on the other side, we have the cut of subsidies all of a sudden for the EVs, like in Germany. And we have prices going up for the cars, which is highly unlikely is going to change in the future, because the cost is growing for everything. So that's the point.
Okay, speaking about the bicycle, Raymond, how do you perceive this? Because, you know, these new regulations, I assume, helping to boost e-bikes. So what is your overview on this?
Yeah, a lot has already been said. So, of course, there is in this new ecosystem, which has to be electrified, where the costs of electrification are high, and the cost of electrification are a real burden on the side of the cars. Then maybe the bicycle in urban environment is the easy way out to electrify. On the other hand, if you look at the Green Deal, if you talk to the Green Deal, there is a lot of discussion at this moment on the car side about trade protection against Chinese. I can tell you there has been trade protection against Chinese bicycle imports already for 6 years, and it's very effective. But the reason is the reason at this moment is not anymore that there is a suspicion of over-subsidizing of the Chinese industry that makes the stuff cheaper on the European market. At this moment, the discussion is, because this whole system is in review, is the environmental footprint of stuff that comes from China. So the whole Green Deal, if you do it right, and I think we are doing it right with the carbon tax border adjustment that's coming up, and with the eco-design, and with the right to repair, all the European regulations that are coming in, we as a European sector are very well positioned if we elevate the acknowledgement of the necessity of having low CO2 or carbon neutral products, that we as a European industry are much better set up than the Chinese to make this work, if not only for the transportation from China to Europe. So if you take everything into account, and I know the figures from the bicycle side, and I know what the European Commission at this moment is doing, they just look at the CO2 footprint of a bicycle that is produced, and components that are produced in Europe compared to what's produced and shipped from China, and there is at least 30% deficit. So I think the whole Green Deal regulation for, let's say, protection of the more greener European market is a great thing and will help us as a European industry. But then we come back to what you say, then the green product is more expensive. And this is where the struggle is for. At this moment, the product you want is cheaper from China. So there is a run to China. If we have the new regulation where one of the values of the product is its CO2 footprint and it is in the price, then we compete again with the Chinese on a purely reasonable level. Yes, it's good legislation, but for the end consumer in the beginning, the price will be higher. So it's price pressure on the volume we can do. So that's, I don't have the answer, but I think the main direction of pricing CO2 in a good way is protection of the European industry and reshoring to Europe, which is a good thing.
Of course. Shayan, I want to ask about talent, because you talked in your presentation that obviously, you know, keeping the talent and growing it is one of the most important things, and just collaboration in general among, you know, different parties. Can you expand on this? What Continental Lithuania is doing in this realm to kind of keep the workforce flowing?
Yeah, sure. Look, as we are evolving in our companies, right? It's not only about Continental, but it's about the entire tech environment. As the technology is progressing, we have to also make sure that our talents are brought up to speed to the level of competency we need to operate and be able to sustain it. So it's not like we can say, let's create some training plans and let's move on. It's a continuous evolving journey for us, right? So here the focus really has to be on two levels, right? So we have to build up really strong expertise in the technology side of engineering, because engineering is still going to be the core factor for our operations, right? Whether it's hardware or even software. Software is going to have a much more
impact, whether it's this IT network and the connectivity, because I said connectivity is the heart of everything what we are trying to do, right? So this doesn't go away. Secondly, the talent that is needed to run manufacturing operations, which is what we are all doing here, that's actually heavily dependent on, I still again say, technical skilled people. That means people who are building the products. And this is where we see that we have a lot of work to do still, because there is a shortage. Let's be real. You know, Karolis said that we cannot always look into the rosy picture. We also have to look into our challenges. And I know we're not the only one, we are seeing that we need to really focus on not only high school or college students that are learning things, this is great, but we also have a vast amount of people that needs to be reskilled or upskilled. So you have two areas to focus on to create a balance. Because I don't agree yet that Lithuania doesn't have talents. That's a wrong statement. I repeat it because it's really a wrong statement. The country is small. You have talents all over. Yeah, I mentioned in my speech in the morning also that we need to first of all create a good connectivity to bring that small towns together. Then you create an increased amount of pool of talents. Then we need to work with the upskilling and the training of the people who are either unemployed or in a different field, because as we go heavily into automation and robotics, for sure there will be these jobs needed to be trained, because the manual workforce has to change. This is the world we are living in. Cannot ignore that. So we need to work on both aspects, working with vocational schools, education system, reformation, to focus on engineering as well as technical skills, and to work with the unemployed or even the older community that needs upskill training to be able to adapt to all our industries that are going into that driven technology.
Thank you. As our time is running out, Karolis, maybe just sum up what Lithuania can do more or already is doing, you know, to kind of reflect what Shayan is saying about the cooperation within institutions.
So first of all, I'll tell you a bit of a controversial thought that I have. There's no such thing as automotive regulation or automotive industry or mobility ecosystem. Everything is becoming so much interrelated when it comes to regulatory environment, European environment, because when we're speaking about mobility, we're speaking about the Green Deal, about the climate change, about all these, you know, goals that Europe has. When we speak about talents, we are speaking about engineers, about IT people, about software, about AI. So it's so broad that basically I think we have to also in our mindset, as well as in the regulation mindset, we have to go out of separate ecosystems and look at the holistic ecosystem of innovation, where you know, automotives are related to mobility, mobility is related to robotics, and so on and so forth. And here, I think adaptability is the key element. And we know some countries have some established structures, you know, who've been working for decades successfully. But in these recent times, we see that, you know, flexibility and making faster decisions sometimes is crucial. And for us, it is the most important element, you know, how to adapt to the changing needs of the ecosystem, of the business environment. When it comes to talents, I completely agree. You know, you don't need the university degree and 4 years and bachelor's to start working in a company. Sometimes you need just 2-3 months of reskilling and upskilling. Being open to having a flexible and favorable migration procedures as well, because you can bring also some talents from abroad. And that's, from economic point of view, it makes much more sense sometimes than growing up a person. But that's a philosophical discussion. Nevertheless, we have to be very open, very flexible, very dynamic. And that's, I think, for me, that's the only way how Lithuania can compete, you know, and not going into very different topics, you know, of green energy or talents or migration, but that's, I think, the general fundamental idea that, you know, we cannot be stuck into one ecosystem and that, you know, that there were some good old times before when things were working in the way they were. They won't be working anymore, you know, with the global competition, with migration, with everything. And I think that's where actually Lithuanian size is beneficial, because we can be faster, we can be more flexible. And this is the only way that I see Lithuania thriving, especially in this very dynamic area.
Thank you very much. I think it was a very good overview of our discussion. As our time is up, I'm very grateful for all of your thoughts, and I think the future is really bright. We just need to take action. Do we have more time for the questions? Amazing.
We do have lots of questions, but we will try to minimize them. So, okay, we have the question from Peter Brindenson. I think for Raymond it would be. He says that I like the bike cycle business that stays with volume but increased turnover. Isn't it more important to get higher turnover and profit instead of volume?
I think it's both important, because you have to grow the ecosystem, and if you stay in a niche, then it won't grow. But as you saw at this moment, the whole sector is stabilized in terms of produced cycles, and we are growing turnover because of the e-bike. So the e-bike is the one pushing, because the turnover of the e-bikes and also the financial benefit for us of the e-bike is the thing. So it's a combination of both. You can't see them loose from each other. The question at this moment, of course, is if you have the saturated market in terms of total production volume where the e-bike is growing. If you want to grow further, you need to grow new markets with new infrastructure to sell more bikes. So if you want to double cycling, if the European Commission wants, you won't double cycling by putting everybody on an e-bike, because that won't double cycling. So you need more miles on the e-bike, and you need more sales. And for more sales on the whole system, you would need more bike infrastructure, especially there where it was not so red in my chart.
Yeah, thank you. I will try to blend now two questions into like one, because we had a question and it will be directed to both of you guys from Automotive, right? So one was how the impact of the Chinese automotive companies affect the tier 1 suppliers compared to OEMs. Is the risk the same? So this is the one question. And another is very much related. How do you think Joe Biden's regulation of tariffs for Chinese components will influence automotive industry in EU? Maybe we can start with Shayan.
Well, I can start with the Chinese automotive thing. Look, we need to consider this more of an opportunity than a threat. Because there is no way of stopping technology in other parts of the world. You know, this is really foolish for us to think that we're going to beat them. We need to embrace them, in my opinion, and be able to sell our technology globally. No, Continental is a global supplier. We do business everywhere. So for us, it is more of an opportunity. So if we hear Chinese OEMs are penetrating they're already penetrating the US market, they're going to penetrate the Europe market, they're going to establish their operations. But what will happen when you are setting up a footprint in Europe? Just like all of us companies, we are always in region for region. Let's not forget that. So that means it's going to be an opportunity for them to also take over suppliers in region, providing opportunities and jobs for in region as they're operating. So this is really should not be deemed as a threat. It's an opportunity. We just have to be smarter and most importantly, we have to be competitive. Price will be the driving factor for the OEMs in the end. It's all about money. It's all about who's fast, who can be fast to the market, and who can be agile, and who can be competitive. If we can hit those notes right, I see no reason why European suppliers or European region should be at risk, at least from my perspective. And secondly, on Joe Biden's tariff, I cannot really comment on anything because I'm not really, we don't comment on political matters, to be honest. So I will refrain from commenting on that one. So.
Okay, thank you. Maxim, do you have some comment or?
Yeah, just to add, because I feel to be the bottleneck in between the break and today, right? So we are not impacted as a tier 1s, but we can be impacted if we will not act fast. Because Chinese OEMs, they accept the only way of the collaboration with the European suppliers only through the joint ventures. There is no any other form of collaboration which works to date. Maybe something we will find out in the future. And if they come to Europe with willingness to assemble the cars right here, the first thing that they will do, they will try to bring their own suppliers, the tier ones, which is now supply them in China. And this is when we have to step in, and it's all about the cost and the quality in between them, bringing suppliers from half over the world and all logistics, which costs, we don't have teleports, and us being local suppliers and have established a connection to them through the joint ventures and saying, hey, look, you don't need to bring your suppliers here, we are here. So we just need to increase our portfolio and look for the opportunities to widen the scope by serving not only German OEMs and European automakers, but expand us to support Chinese.
Thank you. Thank you. So probably we can thank all the panelists for really professional discussions here. Round of applause.
Yeah, dear audience, you more than deserve now the lunch break. We prepared some refreshments, but I tell you, at 1 o'clock sharp, please be back, because you will have the unique chance to meet, I would say, the most influential expert in the European automotive sector, and it's the president of the German Automotive Association, Hildegard Müller. She's been also a Staatsministerin at the Bundeskanzleramt. She's been a lot of functions, but I witnessed 2 presentations of her, and she has first always on spot latest news and updates on this highly dynamic and changing markets. I think that I'm looking forward. Unfortunately, she cannot be here. We tried everything with the flights, but it's not so easy. One of the bottlenecks is still Vilnius Airport a bit. We are working on that. So she will join us with the Zoom. And when you hear the bell, please come back in. And then we also have a great afternoon with a lot of other inspiring speakers. We'll have Hussein, head of technology from Continental, joining. We'll have a supercar manufacturer, Koenigsegg. I told my son I'm meeting the guy from Koenigsegg, and he was like, wow, puppy, I'm so proud of you. Yeah, so I have to produce the selfie and
come back with the car.
Yeah, something like that. So, guys, and all the others that are mentioned here, and let's continue. And,
I want to also to tell that you have to now make few things. One thing is to make a photo shoot with our photo booth. Second thing, of course, to have a great time and to network. Third thing, just go to the also area 3 to visit Innovation Island with all their presenters, and also, of course, to the lunch. And the lunch is downstairs here with the restaurant. And also for those who are still seeing and networking and need some kind of tables, here is also the open space with the tables for some kind of B2B meetings if you need.
You see, the speed in Lithuania is light speed, so that's you have to all do that in 30 minutes.
1 hour, no, 1 hour.
As a global leader in the automotive industry, Continental AG has more than 500 locations around the globe.